In Focus is powered in part by Go Chevrolet at I-25 and the Boulder Turnpike. Your source for new or used cars and trucks, and reliable service for most makes and models. Just visit goautochevrolet.com.
Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Later we'll have my visit with playwright Michael Mitnick, whose new work, Elijah and Adventure, is being produced by Local Theater Company at the Dairy Center. But we begin at Cage Aux Folles, currently playing at the Buell, and later we'll meet George Hamilton. But we begin with highlights of my visit with his amazing co-star, Christopher Sieber. On Broadway, he played George, and on tour, he plays Albin. Interesting point. You are very well known for doing two roles that you got to create, and you got to create them with the creators of the show. So you really were a collaborator.
Oh, yeah.
But this was already set. So
Yeah.
what was the difference for you as an artist to do that?
Well, yeah, the two shows that I helped create were Spamalot and Shrek, and that's like, Spamalot wasn't even work. That was just heaven. That was just heaven. Working with the Pythons. Oh my God, crazy. And then like Eric Idle, one of my comic idols, becoming a friend of mine. What is that? What? And then Shrek, which was Janine Tesori and David Lindsay-Bear were nice enough to let me. David Lindsay-Bear, the book writer especially, was so nice to just let me be because he didn't know what to do with me. He was
and
like,
isn't it your fault that Lord Farquaad is played on his knees?
Forever and ever. Yeah. So anybody playing Farquaad, I'm sorry. It's my fault. Wear knee pads. Well, this was, going into the show, I didn't have time to really delve into the character. It was literally one of those things you just got to learn your lines and hope you don't bump into stuff.
When you were doing
When
George.
I was doing Cage and George, because the time frame, I had 7 days to go in there. And but the collaborative part was being able to sit down with Harvey during moments, because he was still doing the show while I was rehearsing, and being able to sit down and saying, okay, what is this, and help me out. And so yes, it was more collaborative on his part, letting me know what was going on. But literally, it was throwing darts for a while. It was but in this here, what we did, Terry Johnson, our director, was very good at just letting you be. And you have to tell the story. You always have to tell a story in theater, and that's what it's about. But to be able to, him letting me be and finding my own Albin, my own Zaza, I mean, that is really cool, the director, because sometimes when you go into a show, like if you're replacing on Broadway, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like this. To a certain extent, that's true, because a lot of that stuff depends on cues for the orchestra, or you can't ad-lib, and that's fine. And they let me be in the number, Cage Aux Folles, the big number, where I get to be crazy for about 10 minutes. And almost all of that dialogue in there is something that I created. And they let me be, and they just let me be, and they said, you can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't screw up cues.
Right.
Or crews.
Well, this shows the trust that they had in you
Absolutely.
as an artist.
Yeah, I don't take that lightly. Yeah, definitely.
I also have to say that your performance, and your 11 o'clock number, I Am What I Am, it's the kind of thing that we've seen done so well, so many times, and it's usually done with so much force and gusto. But you're playing it with an interesting type of restraint, and you're really using your vocal skill. Where did you come up with that take on it?
I decided that we've been very lucky because we've been doing this for quite some time now, for 10 months or so, and so throughout, the great thing about theater is you always get to workshop stuff in front of an audience. Like every single performance is basically a workshop and seeing that this will work or not, and stuff like that. And I noticed that they responded more with less. And you start off because at that point, Albin is told that you're not wanted. You don't want to be. We don't want you around. Your family. I mean, that's devastating. And right before he's supposed to go on and sing his big 11 o'clock number, which would probably be hilarious, because you've seen him be hilarious and just play with the crowd the entire time, and it just takes a quick turn. All of a sudden, you have to, and it's devastation. It is a lot, and so you have to summon up all that hurt in the beginning, and then defiance at the end. It was like, screw you guys. If you don't like me, that's your problem. That's not my problem.
Another interesting development in this revival is that we get an emotional payoff at the end, and I don't want to give it away, that we didn't get in the previous Broadway productions, a real payoff. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's really important now to keep this story as relevant and fresh as it deserves to be, that you got there.
Yeah.
Was that important to you?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, our producer, Fran Weisler, we were, when they were putting out the tour and they were asking theaters across America, would you like this show to come in? They're presenting it and whatnot, and a few of the presenters said, we will love to have your show if you change that moment at the end.
Because they had seen it on
They'd seen it on Broadway. And she said, absolutely not. You're not going to get our show. If you can't take that, then you're missing out. You're missing out on the whole entire point of the show.
My full interview with Christopher Sieber will be on our webpage. Now, highlights from my conversation with the legendary George Hamilton. I remember a story you told about how you got Light in the Piazza, that you were aggressively pursuing it, that you were preparing even before you had a chance to show you could do that. How did you get this?
Well, this is so strange. It's the antithesis of that. What's happened on Broadway, is that, you had Lunton Fontaine and you had all the great actors of their era, and they got that. And there would be a great play for them each year, and there would be great writers and wonderful scores written for them. Now, it's about bringing out quite often old saws, making them available to new generations and to people who would never, are not particularly theater goers. And touring is way harder than Broadway. I mean, anybody tells you they can do Broadway, I say, oh, okay, thank you, but try touring, pal. I'll tell you about that. Much harder. But having played Broadway, I realized that I saw a lot of actors who were really not equipped to handle the roles they were given. And the reason they were not equipped is because they were in a reality show or they were in a TV series that they'd never done a play. And the plays vitally need money to support it. They need a marquee, and they need a name on that marquee. So they have hired over the years a lot of people not qualified to be on that stage. And then they would go to...
Stunt casting.
Well, yes, that's what it is, and rock stars and singers. And some of them have pulled it off incredibly well. And you say, my God, they have the ability. They do. But by and large, their fans are there just to see them. They don't care about the play. And if they get a great play and they match the play and all, they have a wonderful evening. And they don't know what the subtlety is, the difference of the subtlety. Mine was, I think they were looking for somebody to do the show that had some sort of name. They could sell a national tour. Now, you take La Cage aux Folles. Now, La Cage aux Folles is dangerous because it is a play that was a gay anthem back in the 70s. The Certainly I Am What I Am was a gay anthem. And it was thought of as being very edgy when it came out. It is timely in gay marriage and in the political arena. But, we went out with the theory that we're going to be shot at and there would be people, that would be the possibility. So they thought, now, who do we get to play the lead in it? Well, they call in, they say, George Hamilton, didn't he play Hank Williams in that movie? I locked him in that thing, he's all right. Well, he did that movie, Zorro the Gay Blouse, is sort of a spook, that'd be all right. He can bring
Love at First Bite.
Love at First Bite. So they thought that's kind of safe. The truth of the matter is, this is like watching Our Town. It's become a classic. What's the big deal anymore? All that's gone. The first night when I was expecting a sea of gay faces out there all enjoying the show, I saw blue hair. I saw a sea of blue hair. And at one moment I saw panties coming at me, and I thought, oh no, this is not possible. I thought it were rocks. I picked them up and they were bloomers. 85-year-old ladies with names written on them, for a good time called Margaret. I thought to myself, this is not possible. And I've gone across the country, not one incident of anything like that. America to its credit, America has accepted this, and generally it takes generations to bite off something, and you may bite it off, but to digest it's another thing. That's over with. The people who have seen this enjoy it, and there's never not been a standing ovation in this show. I don't think it has anything to do with me. I just think it's the composite of it all, and the music and everything else. And also, it's about a country that with all our flaws, we have been able to accept the flaws that we perceive in others, and now realize our strengths. This is what America's strengths. And I'm amazed at it. I'm pleased to have been part of that, you know. I'm not gay. I had a brother who was, and I saw him suffer through an era where it was totally closeted, and he had no chance to be himself. And I don't think he ever felt accepted by my mother. And I, because I was raised by him really, totally accepted him. And it was very interesting. And at the point, he died very young, 53, and alcoholism and such. And I was with him for 6 months until the end. And when he passed away, I was in the room with him, and we were talking the night before, and I said, Bill, if you had it to do over again, what would you do differently?
What was his answer?
I'd love more.
I think that we all can identify with that sentiment.
Amazing to me. And that's what this is all about. It's about being who you are. It's about family and about love. And it passes all those other things, you know, all those petty things that we bigoted, small-minded people bring into it. That's all. America's so great that it's absorbing that. I just hope we can deal with what we're going through now. It's far worse than what we've gone through. You know, we're in a situation now where this is really put up or shut up time in America, I think. And people of great value don't have the chance to be politicians, I think. I think that it's a very thankless role now. But this show puts all of that aside. There's no politics, there's none of that issues about it. It's going here and they go. And I have learned the one lesson, that is I walk on delighted to be there, and I make other people feel delighted to be there. And all this wonderful talent goes on around me. I must feel a little bit like Joel Grey must have felt in Cabaret. I feel like that's, and when I learned that trick, I didn't feel like I'm on my back foot or I have a learning curve anymore. I'm there and I'm enjoying as much as anyone in the audience is. And I think they see it at the end of the evening that I've had a good time.
They do. And when you say it's that composite of all of those things that caused us to all stand up for you last night and have throughout your tour, you are a critical component of that. And I appreciate the work that you brought to us last night and the time you shared with me today.
Thank you. A great pleasure. Yeah, terrific.
Visit infocustv.org for the extended interviews and more. Don't miss La Cage Aux Folles on tour at the Buell Theater. Visit denvercenter.org for all the details. When Local Theater conducted their new play festival, Local Lab, we were there for the readings. The play they selected was Elijah, an Adventure by Michael Mitnick. His play, Ed Downloaded, was also selected for production this season at the Denver Center Theater Company. Welcome back to Colorado.
Oh, thanks. It's awesome to be back. I love being here. I've been here twice since the beginning of the year. I'm coming back for the Ideas Fest in Aspen, and then Denver Center is awesome. They're going to do my play, so I'll be back in December for rehearsals. So I'll spend more time in Colorado than I will in Brooklyn.
This time you're visiting Colorado for something not connected with the Denver Center. You're here for Local Theater's Local Lab. How long ago did you begin Elijah? I
started Elijah in the winter of 2009. And then since then I've been working on it on and off for different readings. And what's been so wonderful about Local's reading is it gave me, I had the most time in between readings that I didn't look at the play for maybe 10 months or so. So when I first started to have conversations with my director, Pesha, I was a lot fresher looking at the text and wasn't so precious about lines in the past, and I was able to really bring the scalpel and try to hone the play and get to the heart of the story that I was trying to tell.
The time in between allowed you that objectivity.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's really important. Writers often feel so invested in the work because you do it all alone
Right.
to begin with.
Absolutely,
It starts with
yeah.
just you and the page.
Yeah.
And now you have gone through this collaborative process a couple of times. What's different about this time?
This time, for plays or for Elijah?
For Elijah.
This time it was really about I think getting to the heart of what the play was. The objectivity that I gained allowed me to remove parts of the play that just were a bit like treading water, or were jokes that I thought were maybe even successful, but the fact
just
is,
because a joke is good doesn't mean it really serves the story.
Exactly, right? Or I had triple beats. I'd have a character make 3 jokes on a certain idea, and it was about trying to pick the best one and keep the story going, especially because there's a narrator at the center of the story. It's important to keep the play active.
So we don't want to give away too much of the play, because of course we hope that people will have a chance to see your play, but how would you describe it without giving it away?
The play is about a 17-year-old boy he's from Brooklyn. It's set in 1922, and he goes to Paris for a summer to track down his idol, who is a recluse, a composer of ballets. The kid fancies himself a composer, and on the transatlantic voyage, he meets another 17-year-old who's going to Paris to be a writer. And they're sort of the Hemingway and Gershwin counterparts, but extremely untalented. And they have a summer full of sort of sex, adventures, drugs, and
So it's
youthful
very contemporary,
experiences.
even though it's in the 20s.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I feel like any story that has any kind of resonance is timely. It doesn't have to be ripped from the headlines. That there are universal themes throughout all of history, and that's why that's why classics are classics. And not at all to say that, I think that there are certainly some timely aspects of the play.
Because you began this play so long ago, a few years ago, you didn't necessarily have in mind a company when you wrote this. Is that correct?
A company of actors?
Mm-hmm.
No, I was writing it for. Well, actually, it's interesting that you said that. It was my thesis play in grad school, and there was only one blonde, tall male actor at Yale. And the play is very solidly built around the idea that the central character is a tall blonde male. And we don't get to cast our plays. The plays are cast by the head of acting, who takes great delight in trying to miscast them, to stretch his actors and to make sure that they have a chance to play roles that they normally wouldn't play.
Could be a little element of sport in there too.
There is. I think he enjoys confounding the playwrights. So it was extremely nervous making when I was waiting to find out. Did we get was I able to get the main character, and the actor, and it was a guy named Brian, and he was cast. And then a flash forward to this experience in Boulder, Local asked if I knew any actors who might be right to play Elijah, and I said I do, and he comes with a month and a half of experience. So Local was awesome and flew him out to Boulder. He's finishing up grad school now, and was able to take the role back on. And it's been interesting because I had been working on the play ever since, and he had a lot of the old text in his head. So it would sort of, it's interesting just how much,
the retention.
certain lines can stay with an actor. Because I was hearing, the old lines coming out suddenly.
I don't want to give away too many of them, but there were more than a few lines that stuck with me as I heard this play. And I want to know if you can tell us about the difference between writing a commissioned work like you did for the Denver Center and bringing a play like this to a reading. Tell me about that difference.
The Ed Downloaded, which was a commissioned play from the Denver Center, came with one stipulation, that it would use multimedia. So I was searching for a story that could use multimedia in the storytelling as opposed to just scenery, and that.
Did having that problem set up for you ahead of time make it easier to tackle the project, or was that an obstacle you had to overcome?
As a writer, I find it actually freeing to have parameters, because if there's something that's wide open, then I can find myself sort of spinning around in a swivel chair and having no idea what to write. But the more restrictions that I have, if someone were to say 3 characters, this is the location. Hopefully they wouldn't give me a theme, but it's in a way freeing to have the lines.
Were there parameters given you when you wrote Elijah as your thesis play?
I was given the myth of Don Juan, and that became a starting point. And beyond that, I had written a different play that I thought would be my thesis play at Yale, and I worked on it very diligently, so I had about a month where I was twiddling my thumbs, and Paula Vogel, the head of the program, said, why don't you go write one more? And I didn't want to do it at all, and she said, well, write something about responding to Don Juan. So I read a bunch of different Don Juan plays, and then I sat down and I thought, I'll write 15 pages to placate her, and then I just kept going, and it was just sort of entertaining, and I didn't think anything would come of it.
How did you select this play to submit for local lab?
I guess it hadn't been produced, and I was still working on it and honing it.
It stayed with you.
It stayed with me, and being able to it's a large play. It's 10 actors, and that's a turnoff for a lot of theaters. And it was really attractive that Local was willing to
They love
take
it
on
academically though, because they can use more students.
That's exactly right. They can pawn off their 2 difficult students into it for babysitting. It was a real thrill for me to be able to see this play, because it's a hard one to get readings of.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to congratulate you on being named the book writer for Animal House the musical, and that comes with a whole nother set of parameters that are imposed on you. How does that sort of trying to translate a movie into a musical compare with the kinds of parameters that you were faced with in these 2 projects?
It's a different type of different set of parameters. I mean, that's truly terrifying, because not only it's not just a movie, but it's a classic movie, and it's one that has a real devoted fan base. And in taking the job, I was very nervous, because I don't want to pillage the movie. I don't want to feel like it's being it'll certainly upset. I mean, if you try to convert any beloved work into a different genre, people will get upset. But it's been
if you leave out their favorite moment or their favorite joke, they will hold you.
It's very true, and since they announced it, I've gotten over 100 emails from people saying, well, it's got to have this line. It's got to have this line. And I'm going through and I'm looking at them and going, oh gosh, that line I don't have in there. I don't have that moment. So what I'm hoping to do is capture the spirit of the movie, flesh out a bit more of the plot, and make an experience that I hope is interesting and can be a nice counterpiece.
How is writing a play like Elijah or Ed Downloaded different than writing a book for musical?
For Elijah and Ed Downloaded, it's different because those are both stories that I got to come up with, and for Animal House, it's trying to draw some plot lines within a context that has already existed. So it's.
Is the writing harder because you have to leave room for musical numbers?
I wouldn't say it's particularly harder. I'm fortunate to be working with the director is Casey Nicola, who co-directed and choreographed Book of Mormon and also Drowsy Chaperone, and worked on Spamalot and some other shows. And he's an amazing person, like a great source of enthusiasm, and he's so smart and really guides us and the band, the Bare Naked Ladies, for through the process of adapting this. So I feel like I'm in good hands.
Well, in Elijah, I know that the audience really responded and kept talking about it even after the talkback was over. And some of the comments I heard were really interesting in that they felt very attached to moments in Elijah.
Oh, good.
So if we get a chance to see it, I know that you'll get 100 emails about moments that they hope are going to stay in the play. I want to know, as you leave Colorado from this visit, what are you taking away from local theater's local band?
Well, I mean, aside from just a great time that I had, I'm walking away with a script that's in better condition than when I came in. So, as a playwright who is, working on a play that's still growing and developing, that's the best thing I could hope for.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to hear it. Come and see this play, and I look forward to seeing you when you come back to Colorado again.
I look forward to seeing you too. Thank you so much.
Don't miss Michael Mitnick's new play, Elijah, an Adventure, at Local Theater. Visit localtheatercompany.org for details. This was the end of Season 4, but we're already working on the next season, and you can help. Vote for the Season 5 commemorative t-shirt design on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/InFocusTV. It's a great way to stay connected and let us hear from you.
That's all for this edition. Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. With all that Colorado has to offer, we're here to help you keep this edition in focus. Remember to join us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. With all that Colorado has to offer, we're here to help you keep it in focus. Thanks for watching.